I'm Simon, and welcome to today's show. We're going to be investigating what the public opinion on cannabis is and the official state opinion, which is very important. So, let's go, and I'll see you all later. Do you know what cannabis is?
Yeah, I do.
Yeah?
Yeah, I do.
Do you think, what's your opinion on the legal status of it today?
I think people just abuse it too much.
Too much?
Yeah. Yeah, I think they should be educated about it in schools,
Yeah.
and for them to see the dangers in it. It's a medical thing that some people do need though.
Yeah.
But I think it has been abused, and they just have to do something about it.
Okay. Thank you very much. You're welcome. Thanks very much. You know what cannabis is?
Of course, yeah.
Of course you do. What's your opinion on the legal status of it?
At the moment, like,
Yeah.
here in Ireland or UK or where?
In general.
In general?
On a global sense, maybe.
Well,
In Ireland, yeah.
I know that they're sort of semi-legalising it in Britain, aren't they, for like the hemp? You know,
Okay.
it was on the cultivation for that purpose. Like,
Well, you might know more than that.
in that case, very probably, yeah. I wouldn't say I'm any expert, like, but yeah. Well, I mean, I'd be all for it, like total legalisation, both in respect of like hemp and for
Okay.
for domestic use and whatever. Like.
Do you? What do you know of the effects? Are they bad or negative?
The effects of cannabis are very positive, actually. Just recently.
Positive.
Yes. It has fantastic medicinal effects for AIDS sufferers, as in it increases the food want for it. What else?
So you'd be more in pro cannabis.
I would be pro cannabis.
Okay. What do you think of the education that kids are receiving? Do they have enough education about it in general?
No, there's no education at all.
No.
What if God was one of us? What if He
right,
loved cannabis?
Do you know what the long-term or even the short-term effects are? Positive or negative? What are you?
Just chilling out, nice and relaxing, gets everyone happy. There'd be no war in the world if everyone smoked.
Okay, so you're a positive campaigner for cannabis.
Definitely.
So what's your opinion on the legal status at the minute?
They have to try and legalise it
Yeah.
because so many people are doing it and they could get so much out of it if they legalised it.
Okay. Do you think the children are educated enough on it
No,
so they can make a mature decision when it comes their time? Like,
there should be classes on it to let people know what they're getting into and how they can get into it.
do you remember ever having any as a child when you were in school yourself?
No, didn't have any sort of stuff like that.
Okay. Do you know exactly what cannabis is?
Aye, I do.
Yeah.
Yes.
Both of these?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. What's your opinion on the legal status of cannabis at the minute?
Well, it's to me, it's less harmful than tobacco, and it's more beneficial. There's more benefits to cannabis than there are to tobacco, and tobacco is legal, and the government are making millions out of tobacco. And the only people that are making any money out of cannabis is the dealers.
You have in the news every day in the last year or two where the epidemic of alcohol-related crime has risen through the roof. Teenagers binge drinking, and you have this rhetoric that one leads on to the other, where cannabis leads to harder drugs. Whereas if you took the dealers out of the equation and legalised it, it would prevent people getting caught up in a trap. Whereas you go to a dealer to buy a bit of cannabis, and also he's got in his other pocket maybe ecstasy, heroin, or cocaine, and it's encouraging other people then to get into this.
Everybody goes there because there's as much profit to be made out of. Well, they start off with a wee bit of profit on cannabis, and then they realise that there's a lot more profit to be made out of all this other stuff.
You don't believe that cannabis would be? It's been described as a gateway drug, so it would lead on to others.
No,
you don't believe?
No, I don't.
No,
I see most heroin addicts are weaned on milk.
90% of people I've met travelling around the world, Dutch people, have gone off cannabis. It's like when they were teenagers, they've tried it, it's there all the time, they go into a coffee shop and buy it, and basically after years of smoking as a teenager and then in their 20s, they think, what's the point? They stay there if they want to have a joint, they can go and have a joint. But we're here, we're so legal. a lot of people, the rush for them is going out and meeting the dealers, getting a bit of hash and going home and having a smoke, whatever. It is an adrenaline rush in its own sense.
Well, that's a valid point. So, like, on
I'd say 50% of burglars do it for the rush. They don't do it for the profit. Because 50% of burglars, I know I've met a few burglars in my life, they'll go and do the job and they get £1,000 out of the job, and they'd spend that £1,000 within a day. They just spend it because it means nothing to them. It's just the adrenaline rush of actually going and doing the burglary. And it's the same as going and scoring something illegal. An adrenaline rush that you've gone and done it and got away with it. You know.
Right, let's find out what these boys think. Hello, Paul. How you doing there?
Good doing, sir.
Thanks for having us today. Just a few questions on cannabis.
Right.
To start with, just what exactly is cannabis?
Yeah, well, cannabis, as you know, it comes in two forms: herbal cannabis, the herbal stuff, ground down version, and then the cannabis resin, which would be two of the most popular types. I suppose the simplest form is the leaf and the seed here, which grows naturally, occurs naturally. Then this is the ground down herbal cannabis, the ground down leaves, and users would smoke them through this type of a device here. Some of them call them a hubba bubba, where they charge the cannabis, put in here, and it's thrown through water. This bottle is filled up with water through the pipe, because cannabis burns at a very high temperature, much higher than tobacco or anything like that there. So that's the reason, if you have a large amount of it here on the top, you would take it that way. Moving on, then you have a couple of forms of the resin, cannabis resin, which is the solid form, the solid block as such. That'd be a piece of Moroccan gold cannabis, and here in this sample here you have Pakistani black. It's coming from Morocco, come from Pakistan. Different strengths because of depending on what part of the warmer countries, but warmer than here that it comes from, and you can see the different coloration as well. But you have a dealer's block there, which will be subdivided down into individual deals, such as this, and in comparison to the size of a match there, you see it on both sides, the small deals that would be used for personal use. Cannabis is prohibited under the Misuse of Drugs Act, 1977 to 1984 here in the Republic of Ireland, and it would account for a lot of the use and a lot of the seizures that the guards would have.
Why exactly is it illegal?
Well, why is it illegal? I suppose I don't know. All I know it's a prohibited, it's a prohibited substance as such. It's an illicit substance. It's a proper technical term rather than illicit and prohibited. It is something similar. It's an illicit substance like cannabis, ecstasy, LSD, all those sort of things.
Since 1970.
Well, the Misuse of Drugs Act came in 1977 specifically. There might have been older legislation, and I'm just not fully aware of that, but it would have been prohibited in other countries much. But I suppose the drug scene became active in Ireland around the mid-70s as such, and legislation would have been drafted, and it would have started off the Misuse of Drugs Act 1977, and then it would have been amended in 1984, and it's been amended now subsequently up to 2001, where you have the Drug Trafficking Act. They're all part of drug offences or whatever, so that category.
That would have been following what other countries are doing. They're
probably following international best practice. That's the way they look at it.
There was no specific policy with the Irish government though.
No,
for why they brought it in.
Not really. No, it would have been, obviously there was a problem identified back in the mid-70s, and they brought in legislation, and it's like every bit of legislation starts off, like the liquor licensing legislation started off in 1883, or some of the first bits is in the early 18, and you have it right up to the Intoxicating Liquor Act of 2000, which deals with the closure of pubs and sale of underage and all that, sale to underage people. But going back to the why is it illegal? I suppose the lead is taken from the people like the World Health Organization who would term it as a gateway drug. That sometimes you have young people that experiment with different things, be it solvents or whatever, who mightn't necessarily go into experimentation with synthetic drugs, but might be smoking anyway, and would see that this was a way of trying something that wasn't that obvious, or that was quantifiable, or that they could see it, or whatever. Now, the different types of cannabis, as I said, you have the Moroccan Gold and the Paki Black. Make it simple, it's like the CC in an engine of a car, you know, like you have a 1300 engine or a 1400 or a 2 litre or whatever, and the higher the THC, the higher the potency or the strength of the cannabis. Lots of arguments for and against. People say that it's useful for people who have MS and different multiple sclerosis, different diseases like that. I don't know, we don't know.
What are the worst effects of cannabis?
Well, the worst effects, you know, I don't know what I'm not qualified to say what the worst effects are. All I know from the education and the courses that we get is that the most common way of taking cannabis, it can be baked into cakes, it can be, I suppose, eaten, it can be taken a number of ways, but it's normally smoked. So you're talking about a whole area of health, respiratory, as we touched on there, that sort of thing. You're talking about probably people becoming more talkative, more relaxed, maybe a bit tuned out, maybe just not as alert as they should be, and maybe that can cause problems. Possibly that can cause problems for them, and we're told that it kills off brain cells. You know, that it makes somebody who's normally very sharp intellectually, you know, not that razor sharp as such, or might just change their paths. You know.
Do you have much personal experience with yourself?
No, well, I wouldn't.
With people, with people under the influence?
Yeah. Well, we would have all right at the times, and sometimes you'll see people that they're very, you know, relaxed and quite calm as such.
Yeah, just from what you see yourself personally.
Yeah, quite calm as such, that they wouldn't be, I don't think they would be volatile, but they may do things that they wouldn't normally do, like when people are drunk, you know. So it's a form of intoxication. But I think it reaches maybe much deeper than into the mind. If you're talking about the voodoo stuff, then you know what it's doing with your mental health and all that. And maybe we're told, I don't know how right it is, that, you know, if someone has genetically a strain of depression or whatever in their family, that you might get through, that it can go in there and kind of open up that box and take these things out and maybe take them to the fore, you know. So, you know, I think it's all down to the individual and how they handle it and all that sort of thing. But the other thing, I suppose, for young people, and what we say is when we go out talking to them, is that it's an illicit substance, right? It's an offence under the Misuse of Drugs Act. But if you're caught and you get a conviction under it, you're cutting off a lot of chances. You know, you're closing a lot of doors on yourself from employment, and especially from travel. You know, because if you have a drug offence recorded on your record, you're not going to get visas to travel to America, Canada, Australia, places like that there. So, you know, people have to think about all them things and make informed decisions. They have to weigh up the pros and cons, you know, because as I said, the guard or the police force or legislation will not sort anything if there's a will there, you know. But if people take all the information on board and make a valued decision, then, well, you know, that's their business at the end of the day. What we're here is just to point out what the legislation does and all that. And,
okay.
all right.
That's everything. So thank you very much. So
Okay. Thanks.
Oh man, got any gear? Well, there you have it. Everybody's opinions, good or bad. You'll still have to make your own mind up. So see you later.